The next domain is the emotional social development domain. This includes children's feelings about themselves and also addresses their ability to relate to others. And learning to manage and express emotions is also a part of this domain. Children's development in this domain affects their development in every other domain. For instance, children who develop a positive sense of self are more likely to try new things and work towards reaching goals. They tend to accept new challenges and feel more confident about their ability to handle problems or difficulties that may arise. Here are the 4 claims for emotional and social development. You could go ahead and read those on your own. We have now looked at 4 of the domains, and we still have one more to go, cognitive. But before we get into that one, let's look into a classroom and try this out a little. I will explain a scenario in a kindergarten classroom, and as I talk, please think about different domains that you might be able to observe at any time during the activity and how. Remember, nothing is wrong. Let's just take a stab at the possibilities. For example, if it was a scenario like Leslie had used previously, you might think, oh yeah, health and physical domain, because he's using a pencil and that is fine motor. We'll also give you a minute at the end to reflect and think about which domains. So during it and at the end, think about any of the domains and things you might be able to observe. Okay, don't start right yet. Let me give you some background. And when the experiment begins for the children part, I'll let you know to start your reflections on the domains. So in this scenario, we're doing a science experiment that ties to standards found in Earth systems, structures, and processes. So we've already begun our unit on weather, and today we will build on prior knowledge from our last lesson. We have identified a thermometer as a tool for finding out if it's hot or cold, and today we will do an experiment to see exactly how this instrument tells us that. Prior to what you see in this photo would be a quick whole group review on the tool that we had identified the last lesson, the thermometer. We had observed it, we touched it, explored it, noticed it had numbers, it had a red liquid, and then during this whole group review, I would make the connection to the fact that we will put some of our thermometers on our porch outside for this whole month to observe daily weather changes. So our experiment today is very important for us to discover how a thermometer works. So when everyone is set at their stations and the experiment's ready to begin, that's when we're going to look and think about what domains during this experiment could we be observing. So let's begin. Boys and girls, today we will use a cup of hot water and cold water to determine how the thermometer tells us hot and cold. First, let's make our hypothesis. Remember, our best guess. What do you think might happen when we put the thermometer in the cup of water? Go ahead and share your hypothesis with your partner. So after they share a little bit, we continue. Now we will begin with 3 steps. Everyone listen carefully to all 3 steps before beginning. 1. The partner with the red sticky on their side goes first. Raise your hand if you have the red sticky note on your side. Great. I'm also going to put a red sticky note up here on the whiteboard to help us remember step 1. 2. When I say begin, that person will carefully and slowly put the thermometer into the water. I'm going to put this picture of a cup of water up to help us remember step 2. And 3. Both partners watch the thermometer carefully. Here's a picture of a thermometer to help us remember step 3. Ready? Begin. Okay, so after all the excitement, everybody's yelling, look, look, the red line's going up. I gather everyone's attention and we move to part 2. Okay, friends, with your partner, see which number the red line moved to and write it on your red sticky note paper. And then, of course, they repeat this with the other student and the other cup of water and write their number on the yellow sticky note. Then they have some free time for both children to measure a few more times. And to end the experiment, all children open their science notebooks, and on a sheet that's already pasted in their notebook, they color in the red line to the number, and they write either hot or cold on the bottom. Or maybe they even write a sentence, like this one was cold, or other pertinent sentences, depending on their level. We would then have directions for cleanup and a wrap-up with sharing experiences. End of lesson. Okay, I hope you were jotting down a few things that you might have seen in different domains that you could observe, and I'll give you a moment to think right now. And I'm going to mention just a few out of each domain to give you an idea of where this could go. So for the approaches to learning domain, you might have thought about the ability to maintain focus and persevere that Jamie had talked about, being able to complete the task, or maybe accomplish collaborative tasks where they were working with partners. In the emotional and social, regulating their emotions. During some parts, they get very excited. The red line is moving, and everybody just goes crazy with, yeah, the red line's moving. Are they able to get themselves back into control and focus and continue with the lesson? The health and physical. You could look at some fine motor skills in various parts of this lesson, from putting thermometers into water to writing on the sticky notes to writing in their notebook. In language and communication, in the speaking part, you could be listening to their verbal abilities as they work with partners or at the end when we're sharing in a group. And also in that domain, you might be looking at the listening part. Were they able to follow three-step directions? And then the cognitive. Catherine's just about to speak with us about the cognitive part, but the content-specific cognitive part would be science in here and the different science